Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
This what I tell 'em. Look, I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. How to code, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles, compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles, go take care of your business. Success Chronicles, it's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chip Baker coming to you with another episode of the Success Chronicles. And today we have my guy Ash Cash with us. And man, what a cool story from New York. He's the financial motivator, personal finance expert, TV and radio personality, a powerful inspirational speaker, and he's also an author. And so thankful to have him here with this episode of the Success Chronicles.
Nah, Chip, thank you so much for having me, brother. Excited to be here, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Off air we talked about, and before we get in the interview here, I've been following him a while, on social media, and just watching the things that he's, been blessed and fortunate to do and making a difference in lives. And so, I want to just say, a lot of times, like you do what you do, and you're on social media, but I don't know if you really truly understand the magnitude of what you're doing and how it's helping, And so I want to encourage you, man, just to keep on doing what you're doing, because it's making a big difference, a big impact.
Appreciate you. That means a lot. And it's funny you say that, because it definitely, because a lot of times I'm able to go out and touch people, but I'm not able to touch as many people when I go out live. And so sometimes when you behind that phone, you don't realize it as much, that the impact that you're having, to your point. So I appreciate that a lot, man. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, you're in New York and I'm in Texas, and the impact is felt down here, just so you know.
Man, thanks, man. Thanks.
Well, let's talk about your life story. Off camera, we talked about, a little bit, but if you don't mind tracking your story and tracing it up until now.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So I'm a kid from New York City, Harlem. Grew up in the St. Nicholas houses, and single parent home. So my mom raised three of us. Because of just the nature, growing up in the late '80s, early '90s, it was rough, and so there was a lot of crime, a lot of drug dealing, a lot of temptation, let's be honest, things that you could get into, or things that you just thought you had to get into in order to survive. And so I was a product of that. And, luckily, I didn't, have any, any felonies or get in trouble or things of that nature. But, going through school, getting kicked out a couple of times and getting expelled, just running through the things that, you go through in an inner city neighborhood, doing some things that, had I been caught, you and I wouldn't have had this conversation right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's like stupid stuff, though. It's crazy, because like when you grow up and you do stupid things, you don't think about the consequences, honestly, right? You just do it, and then, as you become older, and you start looking at certain things that people do, and you're like, yo,
I'm tripping.
Like I could have been under the jail. Like, it's stuff that I thought was like normal. Like, this ain't normal. Like I got kids now, right? I got a 10-year-old and I got a 3-year-old, and I'm like, ain't no way. Like, I'm like, it's, so luckily for me, I've always been interested in money, so like 8 years old, I was packing bags at the local supermarket. 12 years old, I was selling T-shirts and mixtapes on 120. And so I've always been sort of like an entrepreneur. That's actually how I got the name Ash Cash, because I was always like trying to figure out like how I could get money. It's like actually a childhood name. And the funny story is the only reason I was using it was because I was in banking. It was a conflict of interest in order to write books, all this stuff while you work for a bank. And so I was like, they know Cash Exantus at the bank, but they don't know Ash Cash. That's why I used Ash Cash. But I jumped ahead a little bit. After you graduate high school and, kind of was like, you know what, I need to make some money. Didn't know how I was going to do it. I was working at a video store at the time. I shot the Blockbuster videos. And one of the assistant managers was like, yo, there's an opportunity to work at a bank. And so when she's like, hey, do you want to apply for the teller position? I said, yes, I'm going to do it. And so I applied for it. And then once I applied for it, I got it. And I got into banking and I absolutely fell in love with it. And that's just really my background. So I was a banker for about 14 years on and off. And I've done everything in banking from teller to personal banker, private banker, branch manager. I was a CEO of a credit union. Decided that really wasn't the way I wanted to go, because as I was managing money for affluent people, like my biggest client was worth $22 million. And so I'm managing their money, and I'm not the only manager though, right? Like these guys have a team of people, managing their money. And I'm from the hood looking at this guy like, you don't really need me. You know what I'm saying? Like Jay-Z once said, there's much bigger issues in the world I know, but I first have to take care of the world I know. And I was like, where I'm from, people don't understand this information. So I need to go back. Like there's much bigger issues in the world, but let me go take care of the world that I know. And so I decided to start volunteering at local schools, teaching financial literacy. And then I realized how much of an impact, how much of a voice was needed, because I now had access, right? I had the best of both worlds. I'm somebody who grew up low income from the neighborhood, was able to kind of dig myself out of that situation, was able to, connect with wealthy people and learn about their mindset, how they become wealthy and all that stuff. And so now I can speak both languages. Yeah. So why not come back and bridge the gap? And so started doing that. And from there, it launched my career as an author, wrote my first book in 2009, MindRight, Money Right, 10 Laws of Financial Freedom. And now, I'm the author of 6 books. 3 of them have been bestsellers. Like you mentioned in my bio, I'm a TV and radio personality. I'm on television and radio a lot. I coach people. I motivate people. I travel throughout the country, going to different, colleges and conferences, just helping people change their mindset in order to manage their money better.
That's awesome, man. What a cool story.
Thank you.
What a cool story. So what are 3 things you've accomplished in your life that you're proud of?
Man, so, I would say the first thing is just really my career as an entrepreneur. Or the first thing I would say is what I conquered from a corporate America standpoint, right? Because this is I didn't go to Ivy League school. In fact, I didn't get my bachelor's degree until years later. In 2015 is when I got my bachelor's degree. Mm-hmm. So you got to think, I started my banking career in the year 2000, and so from 2000 to 2015, I was, I was able to kill it. So I was a VP of one of the largest financial institutions at 24 years old. I became a CEO of a credit union at 31 years old. And so these are all things I did without a degree, right? And so, and I'm not glorifying the fact that I didn't go to school, but what I am saying is that, to be able to, knock down all these barriers and do all these things as just a guy who had street smarts and was able to, really, conquer and start as a teller. And the last position I held within the banking industry was a CEO of a credit union, a federally chartered bank. I think that's number one, that I'm very proud of that. Number two, I'm proud of what I've done as an entrepreneur, because my first time I jumped out to become an entrepreneur I fell flat on my face, right? Like there was some ups and downs. There was some things that I wasn't prepared for. Almost lost my home. All these things that I wasn't necessarily proud of at the time. But staying focused, staying diligent, learning, how to maneuver through the ups and the downs. I've been able to have a pretty successful career, as an entrepreneur. And so that's the second thing I'm proud of. And the third thing I'm proud of is, my family, being able to be in a position where, I now have financial freedom and I can spend, time with my family, with my daughter, my son. I'm married. I have a wife. And to be able to have that work-life balance, still live out my passion, still do what I love to do, but then also, not have to sacrifice one thing for the other, still be able to give my passion, but still be able to live a fruitful life. And so, I would say those are, the three things that I'm most proud of.
That's a big thing, the work-life balance.
Yeah.
A lot of times, when you're in a struggle and you're working all the time, there is no time on the other end, and other things suffer, based on, like you said, how being raised, and vice versa. If you don't get out and go work, then you don't have what you need.
Right. Yeah.
And so, you hit us with some Jay-Z. I'm gonna hit you with some Jay-Z too.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I heard you, talking about and I knew this. I thought this before the interview. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
But then just hearing you say your story, I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man.
Let me handle my business. Damn. Yes, sir.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
So what's your definition of success?
Success to me is living life the way you want to live it with no restrictions. I think that for a long time, success has been defined by other people, by the car that you drive, by the house that you have, by the size of your bank account, all of these things. People were allowing, outer things and other people to define success. For me, and part of this is because I've seen people who are multimillionaires, who from the outside, you think that they have everything. They got the car, they got the houses, they got the money, they got the status, they got the power, and they're miserable. And so is that really success? Can you be successful and still be miserable? Like, how successful in what? Successful to who? Successful for, like, how? And so for me, success is about doing or living a life that you want to live the way you want to live it. So whether you make $30,000 a year, love your career, and you're happy, you love what you're doing, then you are a success. Whether whatever the story, whatever the narrative is, success is defined by you. Can you look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I am happy with my life. I love what I do. I love, who I'm surrounded by. Can you do that? If you can do that, then that is success. And so for me, I was able to define success for myself, because the funny thing is, when I was working in corporate America, a lot of people from the outside, right, would look at me and be like, yo, Ash is successful. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing what I love to do. But it was when I kind of jumped out, and in the beginning, I was making less money, but I was the most successful though.
Yeah.
Because I had time freedom. I had my own time. I enjoy what I do. And so I, had that freedom for myself. And so that is my definition of success.
I love it, man. I love it. So what do you think it takes to achieve success?
I think achieving success starts with having a definite purpose. You can't go someplace if you don't know that destination, or if you haven't defined that destination. And so if somebody got in their car right now and just started driving, how can they possibly get to where they're going if they haven't, planned where they're going, or they haven't said this is their destination? And so in order to, become successful, you have to define what are your goals. What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What do you want to accomplish? And so now, as you set those goals and you start setting up a plan that's going to help you reach those goals, you'll know, okay, you know what? I wanted to, to start my own business and, make at least $50,000 this year, then I'm a success, right? I'm successful. So it's really, you define it, but it starts out with that definition, having a definite purpose. This is what I want to accomplish. And then create these, small little milestones as well, right? Like you don't create the big goal and say, this is it. You say, here's the big goal, but here are some little milestones that I want to create on my way to the bigger goal. So that way, I'm at any point of the journey, I can say I'm successful.
That's it, man. I love it. So, just kind of reflecting on, your interview here, it's very good stuff. You sounded like, you at the beginning of your life, you may have had 99 problems,
yes,
but then, you fixed that with your drive and your determination, and then you had a moment of clarity.
I see what you're doing there.
You feel you with me? You with me? With your story and your beliefs and how you maneuvered throughout the business and did what you did. Then, you can reflect back on it and look at what your definition of success is and give us an encore.
Yeah.
And with that encore comes a public service announcement, right?
Yes.
You got to have your mind right.
Yes.
You got to have your mind right.
Absolutely.
Hey, what more can I say?
What more can I say?
Hey, how about that?
Yes, sir. That was dope. I see what you did there.
That's good, man. So, for those of you that don't know, I had to hit him with some Jay-Z. Those all Jay-Z songs. The music, you can tell, man. Like, I had to show him, man. I'm a Jay-Z fan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But yeah, man, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with the Success Chronicles. And like I said before, at the beginning of the interview, I followed you for a while and watched your moves and your speaking engagements and those kind of things. It's really cool to see that, if that guy can do it coming from the projects in New York, well, man, I probably got a really good chance to be able to be successful too.
Absolutely.
So appreciate that, man. Appreciate what you're doing. Glad that the things that you've put in the work for, you're able to see the fruits of your labor and able to have that quality time with your family and change the generations in your family, as you're doing. So, God bless you, my man, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me. And, definitely always excited to share stories and, just continuing to like this is my passion. This is what I've been put here to do, right? I'm clear while I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So
I got you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got you.
Yes,
well,
sir.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of the Success Chronicles. We'll see you next time. God bless.
Peace.
Go get it.